Customer service, done right, can be your company's single biggest competitive advantage. Welcome to the Customer Service Revolution. Join customer service authority and best-selling author John DeJulius as he interviews leaders who are revolutionizing their industries. This is more than a podcast, though. It's a movement. The Customer Service Revolution is a radical overthrow of conventional business mentality designed to transform what customers and employees experience. If you're a revolutionary customer service leader who's ready to stop competing on price and obsessed with building a brand that people cannot live without, this podcast is for you.
Welcome, revolutionaries. Welcome back to the Customer Experience Revolution podcast. I am Dave Murray, the Vice President of Consulting for the DeJulius Group, and I'm here hosting the podcast. This time, I'm thrilled to have you with us, and I am super excited about our guest today because our guest is none other than our good friend, Victor Aranda. Victor is from KeyBank. Victor has been part of the project that we've been working on with Key for going on 4 years now, and is really the glue behind the project. He's the one that makes it happen. We're going to talk about some of their amazing results in just a minute, but I'm so excited to have Victor here because Victor really is the person that makes sure that this works, and he's going to share some of his secrets today. Victor, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, I'm happy to be here, Dave. Always a pleasure to connect with you.
Well, it's great to have you. So just to give some people your background, you are the Senior Vice President and Senior Leader of Client and Teammate Experience Strategy for KeyBank, which is housed right here in Cleveland, Ohio. That's a long title. Tell us a little bit about your title. What does that mean? What do you do every day?
Yes, well, I would say my mission is to thrive the Moments Matter culture, focused on client experience first and foremost, and then also our teammate experience. So it really is an exciting time at Key as we think about elevating our performance and also creating a great culture within Key.
Right. Yeah. And you do that so well. And I'm looking forward to talking about some of the things that you have done that you can share with our audience so they can employ some of those tactics as well. So you brought up Moments Matter.
Yes.
For those that aren't familiar, I know a lot of people, a lot of our listeners probably are aware of you, and maybe we're in a class with you at CXEA, or maybe saw you at our Customer Service Revolution conference. But Moments Matter, that's your customer experience, or in your case, client experience action statement. And you're always focused on making each moment matter. Can you tell us a little bit about your action statement and your 3 supporting pillars?
Yes. Well, of course, I learned this through the academy with the DeJulius Group. And Moments Matter is how I would say, is the body of work on how we branded our client and teammate experience. And we had a group work on our experience action statement, which is make every moment matter. We also worked on our 3 pillars. And that's something we live by. We work through in many, many parts on how we work to build a great experience for our clients. So we had head, heart, and hero as our 3 pillars. Of course, many of you know that the head is our expertise, our end-to-end process, the quality of our sales and service process or internal. And the heart is how we treat each other or treat our clients and treat our teammates. So both of those create a great experience. And then our hero, we love it because it really helps us learn how to go above and beyond when that opportunity presents itself. And we have to be very aware. So we had a great time building those components for our Moments Matter. We created our always and never standards as well, and our day in the life video. So that tool really helps us build empathy, care, and helps us understand that clients and teammates are going through whatever stage in their life, highlights or lowlights. We are going to be there with empathy and care and really learn and help to understand what their needs are.
That's great. I love all the content that you have created. So make every moment matter is your client experience action statement, but across the organization, it's really been kind of simplified to Moments Matter. And the initiative that you oversee is referred to as Moments Matter. And the cool thing is everyone in the organization knows what that means. Everyone knows that's our focus. That's all about our client experience and our internal experience as well. So it's gotten to the point where everyone knows what that name means and how they live up to it.
Absolutely. I think when people think about moments matter, it really pauses them to say, this is really as we adopted that cultural revolution, it really is for us to think about how do we make every moment matter. And it's one of our priorities. Kevin, our executive leader for the retail network, is our biggest champion. He's our executive sponsor, and he anchors this initiative with visibility and speaks to it. So I think that really helps us go a long way.
Yeah, and let's talk about
Yeah.
your boss, Kevin, for a moment, who's the retail branch executive, also the executive sponsor of this initiative. He was on a recent episode of this podcast. Your boss was on with my boss, so Kevin was on, and they had a conversation about Moments Matter and some of the fantastic results that you have seen over the last 4 years or so. And I see our time together as really a continuation of that podcast, because I feel that they talked about so many great things that you have achieved. And now I have a chance to pick your brain because you're the person that really made it all happen, right? Kevin sponsored all the work, was behind it, was the voice behind it from an executive level to get it across the organization. But you were really the person that was in the trenches, so to speak, making sure that everyone was on board, that you had all the training, that training was being refreshed and refocused, and all the things that you needed to do to get some success. And speaking of success, let's just share with our audience how successful you have been. And so going back to the podcast a few weeks ago with Kevin and John, Kevin shared some of the results that you have had. And to me, one of the biggest indicators of your success is your increase in NPS score. So before you started this project, so back in 2019, so before COVID and before we began working together, which was about 2021, you were at a 57 as your NPS number, which is good. I mean, that's a decent number. It's a solid number. You were kind of mid-range or towards the head of the pack, but not the top of the pack in your industry, in your segment. And so a good number. Since we started working together, and since all the work that you have done, all the effort that you have put into this, Victor, your NPS score is now at an 85, which is a huge, huge increase in just 4 years, less than 4 years. But to me, the more interesting piece of this and the more thing to brag about this is not only have you gotten to an 85, but you continue to grow every quarter since this project started. So for the past 3.5 years, every quarter, your NPS has increased. Sometimes it's just a couple of percentage points, very small percent, but it's increased every single time, quarter over quarter. And to me, that is amazing to have that momentum, maintain that momentum, but also to continue to fuel growth.
Yeah, it's just been exciting. We track other metrics, but definitely our NPS, and we see that uptick quarter over quarter. Sometimes it's, as you said, sometimes it's large, sometimes it's small, but we continue to zone in on how do we get better, always continuous improvement focused. And we're just thrilled and excited. We're hitting that new high this year, started off strong at an 85 points. And we're now just really thinking about how do we sustain that and continue to grow from that.
And you and I had a conversation yesterday that as we sit here recording this today in the kind of the beginning of Q2, you guys are still right on that and poised to maybe set another record at the end of Q2. So here's hoping that growth. That's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, I think as you think about our structure, and I wanted to touch on that, I know we talked a little bit about that. I would say, our transformation began with an intentional structure of leadership. And we knew that if we wanted to really make that shift within our culture, we needed alignment and commitment at every level. So Kevin, our executive leader, was our sponsor, we mentioned, but we also created a Moments Matter steering committee. And these were folks made up from our core executive leaders across retail. They really helped us think about the strategy and the priorities and making sure we're aligned across the business. And so that was a big, big help as well, because we were engaging our leaders frequently. And then, of course, we had a core team, I would say a core team of experts. We had some great partnerships with our learning and development team, project and change management, marketing and communications. But I would say our frontline leaders were the most important. And these were leaders at all levels, from lead tellers to branch managers to area leaders. And they really brought a voice for us to keep us grounded. And these folks were like very passionate about this cultural revolution that we're going through. And we were just hip to hip and from idea to implementation. So we're just really thrilled about how we organized our structure to help meet the needs of the bank.
So let's talk about your implementation a little further, because
Okay.
you nailed it, right? So the fact that your NPS, you also use JD Power, you also use your own customer satisfaction
Yes.
surveys. Everything has increased. I shared the NPS scores, but all of those have increased and continue to. So your implementation strategy has been rock solid along with the execution. So I'm just curious, some of the things that you did specifically, not every organization takes the time to do. One thing that's unique with you is that when we get down and sit in a room and talk about something that we want across all of retail, we're talking about 900 locations, right? We're talking about
Yes.
a big chunk of the United States. And that's hard to do. That's hard to replicate region over region. So one of the things that you guys decided to do early on, and I think was a key to your success, was create an ambassador program. You talked about
Yes.
steering committee, but you also decided to create an ambassador program where you actually brought people in from different regions and from different positions within the bank to then really become subject matter experts and then go back and continue the training, reinforce the training. Can you talk a little bit about how that idea came about, how you selected the people to be a part of this, and then the training itself, and then giving them the confidence to go out and keep that momentum going?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I would say we formed what I call the most powerful group of all, and it was about 25 ambassadors, Moments Matter ambassadors or client experience ambassadors. And it was from coast to coast, from one end of the country to the other. These were high performing, high respected leaders, teammates from across the country. And they weren't just doing great at their jobs, they're also great coaches. So we looked at that. They're passionate about the client and teammate experience, and they were very influential within their markets. So they really helped co-create the Moments Matter culture within that. So there was a group of about 25. I think we almost got up to 30, but we had a core group of 25. And once that ambassador group was formed, what we did was we call it train the trainer phase to prepare them to lead the efforts within their markets. So we had a lot of fun. Once all the content was created, the tools and the resources that were created, we hosted an immersive session. We brought them together with our partners as well, our strategic partners. And day one was really about learning, right? They were the learner. So we really talked about our day in the life. We talked about our experience action statement, our 3 pillars, and we walked through the entire program of training with them. So they got to experience it, but with an eye of like, hey, take notes. We're going to learn a little bit about this. What can we add? What type of stories can we share and tell within the pillars? What kind of stories can we share within our non-negotiables or our always nevers? So then day 2, we shifted to a hands-on facilitation. And we did this where we practiced leading the segments, and they were able to get feedback from their peers or the facilitator. We provided feedback. We wanted them to really just sharpen their ability to teach and inspire others. So I would say it wasn't just training, it was really empowerment, because we're building leaders. And so these leaders also had an opportunity to try something different and also learn and grow. So it was great. And that's how once we retrained them, then we had to bring it to life nationwide.
You know, I love one of the things that you mentioned there, and I want to go back to it quickly, because you talked about how you selected people to be part of this ambassador program, not solely based on their title, right? It wasn't just because you were a branch manager, hey, come be an ambassador. It wasn't because you reached this particular level. It was based on personality. It was based on your influence that you have, right? Because there are leaders by titles, but there are also leaders that are just leaders, right? People go to them even though they might be a peer. So can you talk a little more about how you actually went through that process of identifying those folks? Did some people, do they have the option to self-select in and say, I like this, I want to be a part of this? Or how did you go about that?
Yeah, so we actually did it with our steering committee and our Kevin, our sponsors. So because we had groups, leaders, the top leaders within our steering committee from one end of the country to the other and could understand where each person was, we went through the process of just identifying folks and our teammates that had those traits and leadership skills and influential skills, presentation skills. So they were able to provide us with names because they knew when we are in the market, we know who are those folks that can really help us take it to a whole new level. So it really was the structure built in to create that list of teammates.
Okay, excellent. I love that model, right? A lot of times we just do it by title. That's the easiest.
Yes.
They should be the ones, and they might not always be the right ones for that job. Maybe they do a
No.
certain part of their job really well, but maybe not this. So I think opening that up and keeping an open mind towards who's part of that is really, really important. So one of the things that Kevin always talks about, and really I think is the basis of Moments Matter, Kevin always talks about how inconsistency is the enemy in
Yes.
your world, right? If I go into my local branch, and I am a longtime customer of KeyBank, if I go into my local branch up the street here, I could have a great experience at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. I may not have that same great experience at 4:45 on a Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
part of Moments Matter is really making sure that we're focused on taking that inconsistencies out by focusing on those little things that we want to be doing on a regular basis that you've already talked about already in your list of nevers and always focused on delivering those always. But I'm curious, this is one of those things very often that when we roll it out initially, people are excited about it. They see the value. Then I get back to my branch, I get back to my office, I get back to my day to day. My inbox is blowing up, my phone's ringing off the hook. And then all of a sudden, I start to deprioritize some of these things. Even though they sounded really good, sounded helpful, sounded important, I can start to naturally deprioritize it. That's kind of a human nature thing that we have to deal with on the implementation phase. Here you are growing your scores quarter after quarter, continuing to improve. How do you do that? How do you keep it fresh? How do you make sure that this is on the minds, top of mind awareness, as we call it? How do you make sure you have that top of mind awareness? Here you are 3.5 years into it.
Yeah. Well, that's a great question because when you think about how we brought it to life at this scale, we rolled out the training coast to coast, empowering over 8,000 teammates, retail branch contact center in just 6 weeks. So it was a huge undertaking.
Can you say that again? Because that's a pretty impressive number. You rolled this out to over 8,000 people in a 6-week time frame?
In a 6 weeks time frame, because we had our ambassadors assigned to their region or their markets, their areas. So we were able to really take this to the entire network and the contact center within a 6 week period. So that was big. We worked hard to make it fun and engaging. It was. So after that training, so I'll talk a little bit about how we keep it alive. But after that training, we had a certification type of I completed the training type of thing. So it's not just to teach, but we really wanted to check for understanding and definitely celebrate some successes. So, but they all led the interactive sessions with their team. So that was exciting. But how we keep it alive, I think that's the challenge, right? We want to combat inconsistency. How do you sustain it? And how do I call it the knowing doing gap, right? Knowing is you've done it, you've taught it, you've learned all the details, and now you've got to do it. But not only do it, you got to do it again. So, how do you have them? They're fresh off the training, they're motivated, they want to do it. So we had to really think about how do we embed and infuse Moments Matter into every layer of our culture. So one of the things that we do to grow that, one example was when we're reviewing our onboarding. I looked at the onboarding training. We were looking at the client experience segment of that as the first step. I think we found it on page 38 on day 7 or something like that. So it really starts now on day 1. Every teammate experiences Moments Matter from their first day through day 5 of onboarding. So they're introduced to our experience action statement, our 3 pillars, and our always and never standards. So I think it's not just an orientation. We really want to do an immersion. We actually have a small certification, test your knowledge after that. But we also reinforced it in our huddles. So we knew we have daily huddles. So
Hmm.
what's interesting is after the 6 weeks, we went on a 7-week series of huddles, just deep diving each piece of Moments Matter, just unpacking one key element every day, starting from our day in the life video. And then we went into the rest of the pieces. So after that, what was great is our enablement team was able to create a template that is an alignment of Moments Matter. So every topic now has an aligned to our Moments Matter pillar. For example, if it's a business discussion, you're going to talk about the details about small business process, tools, knowledge to ensure your expertise. Then you have the Moments Matter heart and hero. What is that connection with our clients? How are we going to do it? How we're going to empathize? How we're going to listen? How we're going to go above and beyond? So that's in our national huddle. So whether it's a product, service, or performance, we want to make sure it's grounded within our Moments Matter.
So let me just recap that real quickly, because you said a couple of things I think are
Yes.
interesting. So the first part of the process was obviously rolling it out to the
Yes.
8,000 plus team members, and that was over a 6-week period. Right after you finished that, you were already doing huddles, correct? Huddles were already taking
Yes.
place in branches and at your
Yes.
contact centers, because contact center was a part of this as well. I didn't mention that yet.
Yes.
We're working on this with both the retail and the contact center, since they have to work together to deliver the client experience we're trying to deliver. But huddles were already taking place. So after the rollout, you then had a very prescriptive, I think you said 7-week period where
Yes.
they're diving into this content further. And so
Yes.
if I understand you correctly, now you're in a case, as we're sitting here 3.5 years later, you're in a case where your huddles are now, whatever the huddle content is of that day, it is then connected back to Moments Matter in some form or fashion. Is that correct?
Yeah, so it's connected. You know, we have recently last year continued to layer on. So our Moments Matter, we infused it into our sales and service process. We call it the relationship experience model. So what we do is we make those connections so people understand how are we creating a better experience? How are we providing value and advice to our clients? And ensuring we're tackling both that great experience and performance. So I think that has really helped us maintain and keep it top of mind.
So I love that, because I think a lot of organizations getting those huddles down
Yes.
very often is half the battle, right? Just doing it consistently, not letting it fall by the wayside. So you have that. I think a lot of organizations, though, always kind of continue the process with, let's focus on our experience. In your case, Moments Matter. Okay, now let's dive into the other things we have to talk about. And it's always kind of separate. I love how you are looking to combine it. So it might be a new product launch. It might be something that on the surface doesn't even look like it has anything to do with the client experience, but you're tying it back to Moments Matter.
Yes.
As you're rolling
Yeah.
that out.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I think, once you want to be able to infuse that culture into areas, as you think about other areas we're focused on is the coaching experience. So we're zoning in on leaders, our branch managers, our area retail leaders, development program. How do we bring that to life as part of that? And as I know you and John say TOMA a lot, so top of mind awareness. So there's you got to do different things because you want to work on the consistency, you want to work on the visibility. So, other tools that we work from our Credo card enhancements, we had a Credo card, we've enhanced that, our branch posters, we've got mouse pads. So just things that will really help us stay focused, a Moments Matter leadership tip card as well. So we want to make it fresh, relevant, and continuing to connect to our evolving needs.
And that's interesting too, because I didn't even realize you guys have done this. I heard Kevin mention it to John on the podcast, and it falls on you. You're the one that's
Yes.
this opportunity, but you refresh the tools that you've created, and
Yes.
they're only 3.5 years old, but you make sure that maybe there's some additions we can add. Maybe there's something that's changed a little bit. We can make it more relevant, or even just look different when I walk in the break room, so it doesn't blend into the wall like it might if it's not changed. So tell us a little bit about that process and how often you do that.
Yeah. So, one of these things, what the materials we refresh, I started with about a year, but I built a process to say, could it be a year? Some things are a year, some things might be 2 years. But you do want to keep them fresh. You want to keep them relevant. We want to make it stick, right? You want Moments Matter to stick. So I think it really tells people it is not a one-time campaign, but it's an ongoing experience and a rhythm. So, putting all those pieces together, because they utilize them in onboardings, in huddles, in recognition, making sure we're focused on the client and our leaders as well, for our teammates. We really want to continue to build upon that. But I love that we can think about things differently, because sometimes you create something and then years later, like, hey, did we go back? So we've built a disciplined process to review everything in a timely manner, whether it's more of a short cycle or a longer cycle, to keep it fresh
I love that.
and keep it growing. Yes.
For sure. That helps explain why your numbers keep going up. Good work. So another question I had for you that I find really interesting, when Kevin and John were speaking, and I knew this before because it came up in some of our
Yes.
conversations 3.5 years ago. One of the goals from this project was really to make it a competitive advantage, right? It wasn't so much
Yes.
focused on having better service, but let's focus on better service because it can make us grow as an organization. It can help us grow and make us a better organization. And also having the foresight to realize that this could also help on the recruiting side of things, right? A better internal
Yes.
culture, a better environment to help us get folks that we're going after, right? And give them a place that is desirable to them. And so I think you've made some really great strides there. Can you talk about the focus internally on that competitive advantage and how, because I feel like that gives this a little urgency too. It's not that there's never the feeling of we're just doing this because we're told to do it. We're doing it because it's part of who we are and it's part of how we grow.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. For example, our recruiting team, we did a Moments Matter training for them. I call it common where possible, custom where it counts. And the custom means I'm sitting as a recruiter. What do I need to do differently with my candidates? And what do I need to do different with my clients, meaning the field leaders? So it really was about helping them understand what they could do. They're actually now looking at all of their processes, our interview guides, to really bring that to the forefront of what type of individual we're looking for. So, and it starts from the beginning, from recruiting. I think one of our challenges, again, we faced is that sustaining that consistency, right? Getting more and more buy-in at such a large scale. So I think every branch and every market and every leader just brings something unique. And I believe that's a strength. But I think it also means we have to be very intentional to create that shared understanding of Moments Matter, that shared language, our shared standards, without making like one size fits all. So we look at not only our recruiting, we look at our coaching, we look at our teammate journey. So different aspects that can really work through creating that consistency. And, retail is a fast-paced environment, right? So it could easily be, I need to get focused on that next transaction or that next metric. So helping the leaders really think about delivering a great experience, that it doesn't compete with performance. It really fuels it. And we're starting to see that, this is helping me grow my business as well and create a better culture.
That's great. And you're so correct with that one, that very often that fast-paced environment usually results in us being more transactional, right? I just check the boxes. I got to keep moving, and I don't build that rapport. I don't spend that time with the client. I just keep it moving. So it's really building that awareness. And I've heard you say this statistic before. I've heard Kevin say this statistic before. But going back to that point of really making this a competitive advantage for you, I find this statistic pretty amazing. That it's reported that clients that are reporting to be emotionally connected to their bank, whatever that emotional connection is. I love Victor when I go in. Victor's so nice to me, or the whole team.
Yes.
Whatever that little thing is that gives us that emotional connection. If you're emotionally connected to your bank, you are 6 times more loyal, which I find fascinating, and especially in today's environment, because you and I have talked about this before, Victor. There's some research that tells us, coming off of the pandemic 2.5 years ago, brand loyalty is eroding, right? People are quicker to go to a competitor, quicker to cut ties if something goes wrong. So you can make the case that building that loyalty is now more important than ever.
Yeah, it is. I think, people are looking for that personal and emotional connection. And, Moments Matter has really helped us bring that to life in a more purposeful way in our relationship experience model, because we think about how do we care for our clients? We utilize our day in a life video, right? Because it helps us understand every client is going through something. So how do we build care and empathy and building rapport throughout the entire interaction? They're coming in for a financial need or want to work on their financial goals. And our goal is to help meet that need. But we also want to earn their business and all of their business. So how do we really combine both of those to say, you know what, they were great at KeyBank. I'm going to come and do more business with them because they treat me great.
There's an additional layer to that as well that I hear both you and Kevin Sloan talk about. Sometimes you're like me, and I'm old fashioned. I like to go to my branch. I like to go into my branch,
Yes.
say hello, and physically deposit a check. That's me. But people are going to banks less and less. They're doing more digital transactions. The walking in is happening less and less. So a couple things. One is you guys have to maximize that, right? Moments
Yes.
matter. You have to maximize every time you have that face-to-face or voice-to-voice when they call in. But the other thing is that I hear you and Kevin talk about very often is we have to keep in mind that sometimes we're seeing our clients on their best day. They're coming in to
Yes.
close on a loan, buy that car, whatever it is. And sometimes we're seeing them on their worst day, right? Closing on an account of a loved one or whatever that may look.
Yes.
And so you have some highs and lows in there as well. So it's just for you all, it's just an extra level of pressure maybe to really nail it, right? To really be focused because the impact you have can really be a great one in those moments.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. What we are working on as well is because we continue to learn, right? The highs and the lows of a client. And we are thinking, we look at and we do have some things in place so that they start to understand what do you do when there's a success or in their personal life or in their financial life. We have a process that makes it genuine and caring for them. And then when you have something very tough, the same thing. We teach our team how to empathize, how to follow up, to really show that care throughout the process if it's a challenging one for our clients. So you're right. We do have that one moment opportunity to make a difference, and you've got to get it right. And we've got to continue to close that gap of inconsistency that will help us get it right. And Kevin loves to say, inconsistency is our enemy. We want to be consistent with every client, every time, every day.
Absolutely. One last thing I want to ask you about, Victor, because again, this is something I've heard both you and Kevin mention, and I think might be another factor into your success and your continued growth, your continued improvement. And that is, I've heard you both say, we start over every day. And to me, what that means is, doesn't matter how great we were yesterday. Today's a new day. We can't rest on our laurels. We can't get an 85. And I think a lot of organizations fall into this category. We get that 85, we're like, all right,
Yes.
now we're going to focus on, right? And then that starts to slide because all of our attention and energy is going somewhere else. But you guys really have that mentality of we start this over every single day, every morning in that retail huddle or in that contact center huddle. We are starting from scratch and we have to focus on moments matter and build this back up. And I think that's just an amazing attitude to have about that for all your team members to have, that we can't be great yesterday and just hope that carries us for the rest of the week. So can you talk a little bit about that mentality and how you think that that's helped you as you have been on this amazing journey?
Yeah, and you said it so well, but it is you start to see your scores go up, and maybe some teams kind of take their foot off the gas, and then they're like, wait a minute, what's happening? How do I need to get back on get on the positive trend that I was having. So it is something that we focus in on because it is every day, but I would say go even deeper. It's every day. It's every huddle from the beginning of the day with our branch teams. The leader has the opportunity to set the pace, set the day, inspire for their team. Say we're going to be working with clients, but then we can go further. We can say it's every client touch point. It's every teammate connection. It is your daily dialogue, is your opportunity to meet your experience action statement. So how do you continue to reinforce that? That's something we continue to look at and reinforce. As you mentioned, we're going on 4 years now with Moments Matter, but I feel, we're just beginning and we're really excited about the future. We are working on our challenges that we do see, but it just fuels us to get better and stronger every day.
That's amazing. And by the way, I forgot to mention, congratulations on your 200th anniversary that took place very recently. That's a huge milestone for any organization. I don't think there's a lot of 200-year-old organizations out there, right? There's some, but not a lot. So that's a huge milestone.
Yes, we achieved our birthday, 200 years. We have a heritage museum. If you're in Cleveland or in town, come see it. It's open to the public. It's an incredible museum with our history. And we also create an experience for our clients out throughout the network to really celebrate and thank them. So yes, thank you. It's just exciting to see we're at 200 years.
And hopefully we'll be around for this one, but probably not. But
Yes.
when Key is celebrating the 300th anniversary,
Okay.
it will also be the 103rd anniversary of Moments Matter.
There you go. Yes, absolutely. I agree.
Well, Victor, thank you so much for joining us today on the Customer Experience Revolution podcast. I mean, you are such a great guest because you are truly leading a revolution within KeyBank. Not to say that you guys weren't great before, because you were, and I can attest to that because I'm a client and have been for many, many years. But I get to see it every day when I go into a branch and make a quick stop to make a deposit or whatever that is, and how I'm treated. They don't know who I am. I'm not
Yes.
walking, hey, I'm Dave from the DeJulius Group, but they treat me so well, and it's so great to see. And it's a testament to you and to Kevin and the teams that you've assembled to create this focus and then start the momentum and maintain that momentum. That is such a huge piece of this. So I hope some people listening today were able to take some things out of our conversation and focus on those and maybe help improve your momentum, especially if you've already rolled something out and maybe have to kickstart it. Victor, thank you so much for being here today.
And can I just say a big thanks to you and John and the DeJulius Group, the entire team there. Really, as we think about, we were doing well, but you have definitely helped us and understand how we can continue and do much better with the tools and resources and the framework. And everybody's just been incredible there at the DeJulius Group. And so I just want to say a personal thank you to the entire team for helping us get there.
Well, thank you, Victor. It's been great to work with you and your teams at Key on an ongoing basis. We couldn't ask for better clients. Hey, one last thing, Victor, no pressure.
Yes.
But we are eagerly awaiting those Q2 results. We want to keep that growth going, right? Another new record.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, Victor, thank you so much. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today on the Customer Experience Revolution podcast. We will see you next time.
Need help getting brilliant at the basics? Contact Claudia at thedejuliusgroup.com and find out how the team of consultants at the DeJulius Group can help you get there.